listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast, episode 35.
The travel and being gone, it can suck the life out of you, and you've got loved ones that you care about and that care about you, and it's selfish reasons to say, well, I've got to preserve myself. But I also knew a lot of people that traveled extensively, and their relationships didn't stand the test of time because things were on the road, and their life was either starkly different on the road than it was at home, and they didn't stand that test very well. So I didn't want that to happen to me.
You're listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast.
Life purpose, spirituality, higher calling, personal growth, meaningful life.
We ask the deep questions about living a balanced life of meaning, purpose, and joy.
Passion, know thyself, be mindful, spiritual practice, aha moments, life lessons, balance.
It is time to welcome your host, Angie Swartz.
Today I bring you a fun and interesting interview for any of you out there who have ever wanted to write a fiction novel. It's my pleasure to bring you Edward Cozza. Edward Cozza is a Colorado native now living in Southern California. He is a writer of contemporary fiction, a humorist, a teller of human tales, and enjoys public speaking with an audience who believes in taking the time to unplug and connect and be mindful of time spent with loved ones. He has traveled 5 continents, been in all but 8 states, and all but 8 Major League Baseball parks. Edward Cozza, welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm not sure all those things are me, but I'll try and live up to it.
Well, if they're not you, we hope you get busy accomplishing them because they're right here in your bio.
Well, then it's always interesting when you're talking to somebody who writes fiction that it's always a conundrum as to whether they're telling the truth or not. So I'll try to do my best.
Very, very funny. That's the humorist part, I guess, coming out in you.
Well, I never know. I think people laugh at me a lot, but I'm not sure that it's happens intentionally. So, but thanks for having me nonetheless.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I've had the pleasure of reading 2 of your books. Let's talk a little bit about your writing. So you're on book 2 of a fiction trilogy. Just tell us a little bit about your books.
So when I started this, I said, well, maybe I should write a couple, 3 books. And it actually was even simpler than that. It was supposed to just be a short story, and I started writing the short story, and the short story got out of hand. So I said, well, there's enough here to write a book, and then there was more to write another book, and we'll see if I made the right decision. And then I said, well, I'm going to write 3 books. I'm going to write a trilogy, and then it just kept going. So I've since, I think, changed my tune and said it's book 2 of a series. So there might be more than that. We'll see. If I don't sell any, then it might be book two of a 2-book series. So.
So, well, we know you've sold some already. Your first book, Nowhere Yet, won several awards, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, I was very, very, very fortunate, and I still think they got the results mixed up. But nonetheless, I accepted the awards, and I was very fortunate and got 3 Beverly Hills Book Awards and an Independent Publishers Award, or an IFFY Award for Best Fiction. So that was on book 1 on the Nowhere Yet, and I've been very fortunate on book 2 that which just came out, and I also won a Beverly Hills Book Award for that as well. So I've been very fortunate in that regard.
And what is the title of book 2?
The title of book 2 is Near Somewhere. So there's pending hope, I guess, is what in both books. Nowhere Yet is the first title, and Near Somewhere is the second title. So I like to think that we're not hopeless. There is still some hope out there somewhere.
And is book 2 a continuation of
book 2?
Book
2 is continuation of book 1, be it a 2-book series or on and beyond. So some of the characters from Nowhere Yet have have returned to join us in near somewhere, and I've got new characters in there as well. So, and the book takes place in Southern California, a stop in Dallas, several stops in New York City, and California wine countries, where these people seem to find their way of connecting with other people. So, and that's the theme of the book is connection.
If you follow Edward Cozza on Facebook,
do
your friends
call me Ed? It's easier to spell and easier to say. So, but thank you for calling. Yeah.
And just reading your books, you seem more like an Ed, and I know you personally, so I have a hard time calling you Edward because I know you're more of a casual. Part of you is a casual kind of guy, and I know that your books reflect some of your personal preferences in that your books take place in places like the Ritz-Carlton and in La Jolla, California, and you seem to like to write about the finer things in life.
If you turn on the news, and now you don't even have to turn on the news because everybody has a computer in front of them, the world is a difficult place, and it might be more difficult now or not as difficult as it's always been, but it's certainly better reported than it was, say, 100 years ago. So there's enough difficult things and difficult times going on, and I'm not making light of that in any way, shape, or form. So my books, I wanted people to read and feel like it would take them away, that they would go to places that maybe they'd always wanted to go, that they wanted to go have dinner at this place or stay at this resort. And the first book took place most of it took place in Palm Springs, and part of it here in Southern California, and the other book, like I say, takes place in Southern California and wine country in New York City. And so I wanted to make it where people could look at it and see themselves in those places. And they're all places that I've been. I don't, even though I write fiction, I do only write about places that I've been, and so I can at least give somebody a fair shot at me telling the truth. So, and I just write about things that I think people would enjoy to know about, or to go see, or to go experience, and then the messages that the characters relay while at those places. So that's sort of why I chose that, is to say, listen, we're going to get people's mind off of difficult things. Let's give them something that I enjoy, or that I think that they'll enjoy. So that was the impetus behind doing that.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk about your characters just a minute. In Near Somewhere, you talk about a character who is he's a businessman and he's on the road all the time, but he's also in a band and he plays the guitar. And he's having a little bit of a crisis in his life about what actually brings him happiness. And where does that character come from?
I don't know where that character just popped in my head one day. I don't know. I stand by the disclaimer at the front of the book that all the characters are based on just my imagination. So I'll stand by that until it has to get more legally involved. So in my travels, I would hear people talking about things that they missed or they were missing out on, and the loneliness of the road. Okay, I knew a guy that traveled for business and traveled all over the country and all over the world for business.
And who was that?
Just a tall guy. I don't remember his name. Some guy I ran into one time, and they said, this being on the road, you're seeing some amazing things and seeing some amazing sights, but you're always by yourself, and you say, wow, if only someone were here to share this with me. And I just kind of took that theme and went with that to say, you're here and you see wonderful things, but if there's not people to share them with, then it sort of intensifies the loneliness, certainly of the moment. But then when you go home, if you went home and you didn't have anything to come home to, then that would make it a little tougher. I'm very fortunate. I have wife and dogs to come home to. So, but not all people do. So that's sort of where that came from. And by listening to people on the road when I was, or this person that I knew that was on the road, overheard people talking, and they would talk about how lonely they were, or how they felt disconnected, even with phones and computers and you name it. They felt disconnected from people that they cared about, when really all they had to do was, instead of sending them a text message, they could call them, or they could take their frequent flyer points, and instead of flying to Cabo, they could fly and see their old college roommate or their old college girlfriend, or you name it. So that's sort of where that came from.
And because we're audio only, people can't see our faces, they can't see our expressions. What did you do for a living prior to becoming a writer?
Oh, so they can't see our faces, so I can't, if I wrinkle up my nose and think about my prior life, then they won't be able to see that. Okay, I traveled a lot for business, and I traveled all over the country and traveled all over the world, now that we're being completely honest. So I did that traveling, and it just really, being by yourself for days on end is, some people it isn't a big thing, but it was a big thing for me. And so that was the bad news. And the good news is it gave me time to write. And you said, well, I can go sit in a bar, or I can go sit in a bar and write, or I can go stare off into space, or I can go stare off into space and write. So the time that you spent alone when you weren't exactly actually conducting business, there's the time when you're on the airplane, and time when you're in the hotel lobby, and time when you're at the restaurant. And one of the loneliest requests you can make is a table for one. So I would take that time and write. So, you can only do so much email, and you can only surf the internet and that sort of thing. And it's not very rewarding. I at least not to me anyway. And, so it gave me time to write and time to, put my thoughts together. So.
And were you thinking about writing fiction books at that point in your career, or what were you writing? Were you writing journals?
No, it was more. I had always written a little, even from when I was very young, and I've always been the same height, but I was younger. I'd always written a little, just made notes or wrote a little this or a little that, and you write for different reasons, or you take writing classes in school and that sort of thing. So at least I did. So it just was, you kind of started writing in a journal, and you're writing, I went to here and went to there and da-da-da-da-da, and it was, you wrote it down, and then you came back and revisited it, and it I guess, jogged your memory of, oh yeah, I forgot I went to Iguazu Falls in South America or something like that. But it wasn't really rewarding. And then when I said, well, let's see if there's a story in here somewhere, and I started writing, a short story, and then it just came spilling out, and there was immediately more than enough for a short story. That's how it got started. And so yeah, that's how it got started.
Mm-hmm.
Again, whether people enjoy the book will determine if that was the right tack to take. But it wasn't a. That's just how it unfolded. So.
Right. And what about relationships and forming relationships during these travels? Do you think that was instrumental in your desire to develop characters?
So one of the things that kept me going, and it wasn't some of the travel was to difficult places when I was traveling internationally, but I really write mostly about travel in the United States or being in places in the United States. And what kept me going was there was always places that I had heard about, or places within places, things that are in Dallas, things that are in New York, things that are in Beverly Hills, what have you. And so I would find that when I would go to these places for business, seek out these places that I'd read about, and whether you can take the time to go to the Four Seasons and have lunch, or take the time and the money to go, have a drink at the Ritz, or take the time and the money to wherever it may be. It was always something that I said, well, gee, if I ever got a chance to go to these places, that I would go. And I guess it was well before people started using the term bucket list that you just said, okay, well, this is someplace to go. And it was also before Facebook and people were documenting their every step of their everyday. And sometimes maybe if you're putting your information on Facebook, you're not really enjoying the fact you're having a nice meal with some people you just met or something like that. So that was why I put those things in there. And the people that I met there sort of made it more like home, or more like someplace that all right, you're going here for the first time, but you might come here again. So introduce yourself to that person, or just strike up a conversation. When you're traveling by yourself and you're sitting with a bartender, which happens in my books with regularity, it's because the bartender sees all, knows all, and if you're sitting at a table for one, you're not going to learn anything about the area that you're seeing or traveling. So I would meet the bartender, I would meet the maitre d', I would and talk with them, because I wanted to know about the area. So if I came back, I felt like I already had a friend there. So that's something that's always served me well, and that I've always enjoyed doing. But deep down inside, it kept me from just going crazy with being by myself. So.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people, many people that travel for a career. Their entire lives they're traveling out there. I traveled for about 3 to 4 years in my 20s, and everyone that doesn't travel thinks it's such a glamorous life to be out there on the road. And in fact, you do get to see many things, but as you point out in your discussion and in your books, it can be a double-edged sword that you get at times you get tired of eating in restaurants and having the best martini out there and the best iced tea. You just want to sit on your sofa with your shoes off and have a peanut butter sandwich some days.
Well, no, I absolutely. And when you meet the people on your travels, and that's not to say that you're shirking your responsibility of the business, because it's you're on business, but you conduct your business, and then you say, okay, well, to be a better business person, if I'm coming to this place a lot, I need to know about the town. The people that worked for me, I would always tell them, listen, you need to, you blow into town and don't meet anybody, don't talk to anybody. You're not really learning anything, so how do you expect to make a better connection with the person that you're calling on when you're there? It's not all business motivated. You say you're trying to do business. But the worst thing that could happen is you make a friend that you say, all right, we're doing business together now, but we might not be doing business together at another time, but wouldn't it be a serendipity if we were friends for a lengthy period of time? So it wasn't just about going to the nice places and having the nice food or what have you. It's also about, like I say, making connections with people that you said, gee, all this time's gone by so fast, and I've been seeing this person for 15 years or something like that. Wow, time goes by, but now I can still call that person and say, hey, I'm going to be in New York next week. Are you going to be around? I'd like to stop by and see you. So it makes a big difference. And like I say, a table for one, I suppose it's a toss-up, which is worse, room service or table for one. So and it's not to say that you have time to do all these things every place you go, but to just stop and take the time and see the things and meet the people, I think it makes a difference. It makes a bigger difference in your life than you realize at the time, and then sometimes it makes a difference in the people in their lives that you maybe impact them. So
I'm sure.
So just because we all have a phone and we all have a computer, it doesn't mean that we should stop meeting people and talking to people. So in the time it takes to send somebody a text, you could have picked up the phone and say, hey, how are you doing? I'm going to be there next week. So.
Right. Let's talk about writing a book. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely fun, how fun is the actual writing of a book and getting it to the point of being printed?
This is a trick. This is a question fraught with hazards here.
Right, because we know the statistic out there is what, like 95% of all people think they want to write a book.
Well, everybody, I talk to people everywhere, as I've been mentioning here, and that's my research. I don't have to go to the library when you're writing. And I tell people I write fiction because I'm not smart enough to write about anything true. You can't. My research is out talking to people, and I don't want to write concepts or things that people. They read them and say, oh, well, if only I had that magic ring, or if only I had a dragon in my backyard. I'm not belittling those genres, but I try and write about things that other people, I'm writing about things that people hear. So the writing of the book was fun because after you got over the cumbersome, okay, well, I don't think I can write, and I don't think I can publish. And once you get past that, everyone has a story. Everyone you meet has a story. Some stories are just longer than others. And whether it's their own personal story or if it's a story that they've thought about and wanted to tell, everyone has a story. So the writing part became a lot of fun. And I tried to do it in the worst conditions possible, because I didn't want it to be, I'm only going to write when I'm sitting in my chair, when I'm listening to my music, when my dogs are with me, because then you would miss what's going on. So I'd bring the Moleskine journal, and I always have a pen and I always have a Moleskine journal, and I'd sit at the bar and I'd write, or I'd sit in the airport and I'd write, and I'd sit on the airplane and write. And I actually had a flight attendant once. She says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing." She says, "I just don't see that very often." And I thought, well, that's really sad, because she sees a lot of people, and she just commented that she saw a guy sitting there writing in a journal, and that she never didn't see that. So I thought that was very telling of, I guess of the times we live in. That was very telling. So the writing part, to answer your question after my long-winded answer, the writing part was great fun because you got to put things down, and it became fun, and the characters came to life. And so I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, that part is 10. So and the editing and publishing part, I would probably not rate near that high. So, but the writing part, certainly yes.
Great. Did you want to be a writer when you were a little kid? Do you remember?
Yes, I did. And when you see things or feel things, I don't know that we're taught to repress everything, but you see something or feel something, and I don't know, it's almost a reaction or response to say, oh, well, that isn't really what I felt. It's like when you see somebody famous, you travel and you see somebody famous all the time, because you just look around and I suppose the crazy rich are traveling in their own jets or whatever. But if you look around in airports and stuff, you see famous people, and the first reaction when you see somebody famous is you say, oh, that's not who that is. And I don't know why that reaction is. And so the parallel there is that when you were writing something in school when you were younger, and you say, God, that really felt good, and I should be a writer. And then you say, no, you shouldn't. That's ridiculous. So that might not be everybody, but I guess that was me, to say, okay, I really did enjoy this, but yeah, your first reaction was I enjoyed it, and then the second reaction was, nah, I probably didn't. I probably just thought that. So it just could be one of the many oddities that I have. So,
but here you are.
But here I am, and it's been fun doing it, and I've enjoyed doing it, and the only thing that the handful of national awards has been at least somebody besides me likes the book. So.
Right. I'm looking at your second book, Nowhere or Near Somewhere here. beside me with a very beautiful cover photo here on the front of it. It makes me want to jump into it and sit in those chairs on the front of it. So for any of you out there listening, I hope you'll look the book up on Amazon and take a look at it and grab yourself a copy and start reading. It's a perfect book for summer. And it's waiting. They're both out there waiting for you to read them. And so now I really want to ask you some deeper questions with your permission.
Well, okay.
All right. Do you know your life purpose? And tell me what it is.
Well, I believe it's to write, as I'm doing, and to look after and stay connected with the people that I love and care about.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And did you have any aha moments along the way that helped you identify that?
When I started writing, or I'd been writing, and the characters and the writing felt good. The characters felt like they've come to life in your head, but you start writing, and so the aha moment was, this really does feel good to do this, and it really sort of makes sense. And so that I guess that was when it was, because when you first start putting it on paper, you're not sure what you're doing, and as it turns out later, you're not sure what you're doing either. But that part felt good. So.
Very fun to interview a humorist. And were there hints along the way in your life? Like, can you tell me the three biggest things that pointed you in this direction, be they good or bad along the way?
Well, it was self-preservation. I mean, it's the travel and being gone. It can suck the life out of you, and you've got loved ones that you care about and that care about you. And if you're out on the road and it sucks the life out of you, then it's all for naught. So there has to be some self-preservation. So you say maybe it was selfish reasons to say, well, I've got to preserve myself. But I also knew a lot of people that traveled extensively, and their relationships didn't stand the test of time because things were on the road, and their life was either starkly different on the road than it was at home, and they didn't stand that test very well. So I didn't want that to happen to me. So I think preservation and more of a way of documenting in my mind, or documenting for others to see or to read, that, hey, this is fun, and it's okay to say, hey, I'm really busy and I don't have much time, but man, I'm gonna take the subway over to Yankee Stadium, or I'm gonna take the walk around, Dealey Plaza in Dallas, or I'm gonna do something that you always say, no, I was there on business and I just didn't have the time. So you're just gonna say, well, I'm gonna go, and it doesn't mean that you always have time or it's always a joyous occasion, but you say, yeah, I went, here's where I went, and it was something I've always heard about or read about. So I think those were a couple of the things that really resonated for me.
Right. And I happen to know that you worked in the telecom industry. Do you think your previous career had anything to do with pushing you towards what you're doing now?
Well, they certainly, when they say, well, news travels fast, and well, when everybody has a phone in their pocket, it travels even faster. But it seemed to take away from the reality of the moment, or the meaning of the moment, to say, okay, well, I went to here. Okay, well, I went to there. Well, I went to here. And it wasn't, it was, yes, you've done this and you've helped people communicate, but you've also created a generation, or several generations of rude people that like to talk on the phone in the middle of your dinner at the table next to you. Or how many times is the guy with the computer bag on the plane going to hit me in the head with his computer bag while he's talking on the phone trying to get out of the plane? So there were good things and bad things about that business that you say, Well, just because you can talk to someone on the other side of the country at any time doesn't mean maybe you should. So
yeah, I like to think of technology as a microphone. I think it made good people better, and it made people with bad manners have worse manners.
Most certainly, because you would say, I just would really like somebody to, give me $1 for every time the guy sitting behind me almost yells, "Yep, we just landed. We just landed." And I say, boy, I'm sure glad you shared that with me, so that you couldn't have waited till you got we got off the tarmac for you to yell at. So anyway, but there were good things and bad things about that. So yes.
Right. May I ask you about your spiritual beliefs?
My spiritual beliefs. So there's always a theme. Not that I'm smart enough to have a theme in the thread running throughout in my books, but it seems is connection. There's reconnection in the first book of people who've been away from each other for a long time, and you shared a common goal or a common bond with people in college, and we were all striving to be the biggest and the best, and maybe not the biggest. That comes later if you don't diet right, and so if
you don't diet,
don't diet correctly, and if you go to these nice places, you strive to be the best, and you all have that goal, and you all are trying to make rent and trying to make grades and and then you graduate and everybody filters away, and you go, wow, we're missing that connection. So in the first book we talk about people that cared for each other reconnecting, and in the second book we talk about people who were lacking connection and are connecting. So my spiritual belief is connection, is whether you're connecting with the person on the other end of the Skype call, or which is tough, but where I'm doing my best. Connecting with the bartender, connecting with the waitress, with the waiter, with the janitor, with the business contact. And I just think that connecting with people and staying connected, I think helps me, but I just think it helps everyone concerned that they're being connected. So the spiritual belief is connection, and if you feel a connection with the people that you love, with the people that you've just met, and you feel connected to the beautiful sunset and the ocean that you live in Southern California, or you feel connected with the desert in Western Colorado or wherever it is, connection is my spirituality. So I don't think you can buy a book on that, but maybe. So, but that's where it served me very well, and I've been very, very, very fortunate to have that in my life.
Thank you. And tell me, what tools have you used to help know yourself better along the way?
Well, when you start doing that, then you run the risk of, boy, I'm really getting to know this, but I'm getting to know this guy who's making up these people in his head. Writing, listening, and talking to people are the tools that I've used to help me with that. Like I say, I like to think that I'm helping people or writing about something that they would enjoy. But it has also helped me. So writing, listening, talking, and traveling. I mean, and traveling not just for the sake of, well, we went here, we went there, to say, okay, well, people are the same wherever you go. They talk different, they eat different, but those are the things that have helped me, that have really served me well over that time. Thank you.
How about daily practice? Do you do any daily practices that help you stay centered and balanced?
Certainly. A while ago, stating intention. and feeling the connection that I talked about. So that you state your connection or state your intention to say, this is what I'm wanting to do. And I try and do it every day, best I can, to state my intention. And I've found that things have come back to me more often than not when I did state that intention. Now, I don't want to burst a bubble, but I've also found that you don't have to go to a mountaintop or go some unique place to state your intention and to find that oneness. I find it wherever I go, and not to cut into the travel budget of the places that bill themselves as you go here for a meditative retreat or what have you. But I found that for me, I could do it wherever I went, and maybe it's because I practiced it and tried to be. Not to say that those places aren't good, and maybe the spirituality is different there, but that's what's worked for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what John Kabat-Zinn tells us, right? Wherever we go, wherever you go, there you are.
Yes. And you say, I can feel so spiritually. I can feel so much better if only I were X place. Well, no, I feel here's where I am, so I have to feel the best that I can here. And how do I best do that where I am? So that's why I do it that way. And it's I've been very fortunate.
And you mentioned you've mentioned a few times your dogs. Do you think your dogs are part of your daily practice?
Certainly. So you notice more things. You're with them, and you notice more things, and you talk to them. And look at that guy over there talking to his dogs. I bet he's a writer. And so yes, I think that does, because there's messages that they seem to give back to you to say, okay, well, it's time that you stop pounding on that computer, stop writing in that book there, in that journal. You need to get over here and open this biscuit jar for us. So sometimes you have to pay attention to that too.
And what kind of dogs do you have, and what are the names?
I've got two Labradors, two American Labradors. So and they're a handful. It's like walking a couple of blonde gorillas when we go out for a walk. And it's only been recently that I figured out the way that I can walk them without me being bowled over. So I'm thankful for that collar and that splitter that I can walk both of them at the same time. But if you saw it, you would probably laugh. So maybe you'll get to see it sometime and you can laugh with me. So we should probably go for a walk together.
Well, I would be honored. I look forward to that day. Your walking invitation is a great segue to my next question. Do you think the physical body plays a role in igniting someone's life purpose?
It most certainly does. The tough part is as you get older is keeping that instrument tuned. So it's difficult to do, and my hat's off to the people who can just leap out of bed and start exercising and do that. I really do. My hat's off to them. I can't. I'm not one of those people. And like Indiana Jones says, it's not the years, it's the mileage. I do think that, and it's tougher to keep that tuned, and I'm really trying. I told somebody the other day I'm on another comeback. Just once I'd like to be at the top, how it feels at the top, but until that comes, I'm in another comeback phase. So yes, it is important.
Well, we keep working on it, right? That's the important part.
Exactly right. We keep working on it. Yes.
So tell me, do you think synchronicity plays a role in your life?
I think it plays a huge role. It's just difficult sometimes to put it into perspective. You know, these things happen, and you're trying to say, all right, am I here taking notes? Is this happening for a reason? It's not happening for a reason. And then you look back later, you say, yes, it was. It did happen for a reason. But it's difficult, like I say, to put into perspective. If you see the movie The Adjustment Bureau, it's at first pass you think, well, this is the strangest thing ever, and then you start. And then I had somebody who was very spiritual say, no, this is a deeper meaning that the travels and the treks you take, they're supposed to follow this path, or the universe is supposed to follow this path. But guess what? The universe sort of has it out there for you, but you know what? You take different turns and you take different twists, and one day you meet a person who's doing a podcast and you say, wow, that person helped change my life. And at the time you didn't realize it, but it did, because it made you take a path that you weren't going to take that day, and yet you did. So yes, I think it plays a huge role.
Thank you for that. Me too. May I ask you about money?
Well, I've got about $25 on me right now, and but I'll probably spend some of that on the way home. So that wasn't what you meant?
Do you make more or less money now that you're following your purpose of writing books?
Trick question again. Well,
do you think it matters? Have your values changed?
Well, my values have certainly changed. Trying to strike the balance of your life purpose, as your theme, trying to strike the balance of your life purpose with how you manage the business of managing your life. That's a difficult one, and I haven't quite got it figured out yet. So,
let me rephrase my question. Would you go back to your corporate life and end your writing career if you could go back to making lots and lots of money again?
No.
Yeah.
No. You feel that you would have missed something, and you can't. Nothing, my friend says, the only thing certain is yesterday. So no, I would not go back and change that. So, but I did have a friend that says I need to find a job to support my writing habit. So I said, well, we're ever on the lookout.
Yes. Well, I'm sure there's something out there that until your book sells millions of copies, that you can enjoy doing something that is in line with both of those things.
There's a great day coming.
And for those of you out there that are listening that needs a writer, comedian, wine connoisseur, lover of great food, please give Edward Cozza a call.
That's me. That's right. That's absolutely right.
Maybe you can tap dance or do a few other things.
I'd love to talk to them if nothing else. So,
speaker, any of those. Many entertaining things.
That's right.
Have you ever encountered any resistance from friends or family regarding what you're doing now?
Always.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Always. That there's a response of when you say, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm writing a book, or just put a book out, or I'm getting ready to put a book out. It's, oh, that's nice. So I always think, well, it is. It may not be in the top 10 of this is how the best way to make money, but it's very rewarding spiritually. It's very rewarding emotionally, and so yes. But I have people that I've been very close to and stuff, and they just shake their head and go, "What, are you out of your mind?" And I said, "Well, you've known me a long time, so yes, I am." But yes, there's resistance. But you just say it goes back to you see things or feel things, and your first reaction is that no, that's not right, and so you just have to get past that and say, this person feels differently, and that's fine. I don't begrudge them for that. So yes, I do encounter resistance sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I think oftentimes when there's resistance out there, that it's fear, like someone else's own fear about that they're not looking at their own dreams sometimes.
Well, I think that's definitely there, because I get people say, "Oh my God, I could never write a book. I could never do this. I could never do that." And I tell them, "Of course you could do this. But it's not about being a bestseller or anything else. It's about doing it, and of course you could do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I mean, it's writing a story, be it real life or nonfiction or a tale that you've made up. So, but yes, people are they're afraid for reasons that are ridiculous when there's all the terrible things going on in the world to really be afraid of just your own emotions and feelings. That's a misguided judgment there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Earlier today, I was listening to an interview, one of my favorite interviews that I did with Parker Palmer, and we were talking about one of his favorite sayings about the best thing that you can do with your life is live your life. You know, you might look at others that are doing things that you admire, but the worst thing you can do is copy their life. That you're here with your own gifts, and the best thing that you can do is really step into them and live your life, because that's what you're here to do.
I like that, and I try and go that route. So I should probably meet this person. We're in agreement on that.
Yeah, very, very inspiring guy, like yourself. I'd like to ask you a lightning round of yes or no short answer questions, if I may.
Okay.
All right. Do you think passion and purpose are the same things?
No.
Do you think everybody has a life purpose?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how important is following your joy and igniting your life purpose?
10.
Did you ever quit your job to follow your purpose, and do you think somebody needs to quit?
Yes and no, but it gives serious perspective.
What brings you great joy?
Connection. Loved ones, having dinner, sitting down, having a dinner, lunch, a glass of wine, a glass of bourbon, a glass of tea, sitting down and talking with people, connecting with people.
If you unexpectedly amassed a good-sized fortune, what would you do differently?
I'd leave a better trail behind me.
And what do you mean by that? I
would leave a trail where people would say, yeah, he came through here and it was really nice because here's what he did after he passed through. This is what was behind, and there would be a better trail.
Thank you. What are your favorite sports teams?
My favorite sports teams. Well, this is the part in which certain people would tune out. I've been a Yankee fan my whole life because I grew up in a town that only had one TV station, and they had baseball was on one day a week on Saturday, and it was usually either the Dodgers or the Yankees. So I grew up watching that. So I'm a Yankee fan since I was a little kid, and I'm from Colorado, so I'm a Denver Bronco fan, and I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan just because I've been a fan forever. So those are my favorite sports teams. With no offense to other conferences, colleges, divisions, but I like them all because I've only got 8 major league ballparks to go see. So if I go someplace, I like to go to a baseball game, and if that's major league, I go. If it's minor league, I go. I go to either or.
Great. And just in getting ready to close, we have a few more things to talk about. But tell me, what should listeners learn from your life?
Well, sometimes I used to tell folks that work for me, I said, well, you may not learn what you want to do, but you might learn what you don't want to do. So maybe that's one thing. But I think it's that anyone can do what they want to do. And so you want to write a book, do it. You want to ride a bike, you want to paint a picture, you want to play a musical instrument, you can do all those things, because I couldn't do any of those things growing up, and now I can do those things, and I can't necessarily do them. Carnegie Hall, I'm not going to be playing there, and but not right away, but and you can do what they can do whatever they want. So just do it. There's nothing holding you back.
Yeah, I've heard you sing and play the guitar, and you're pretty good.
Well,
pretty good at it.
You heard me, and yet you're still speaking to me, and I appreciate that.
I'm honored to hear you again.
Well,
I hope to hear you again soon.
Well, I will. Thank you.
Tell me, what is the best way for people to connect with you and learn more about your work?
So website is edwardcozza.com. And if you want to drop me a line, it's ecwriter@me.com.
ecwriter.
ecwriter@me.com. Mm-hmm. And the website is edwardcozza.com, C-O-Z-Z-A. There's a Facebook thing there that talks about all those, and it's Edward Cozza Writer. So they can learn about things there. So I make it fairly easy, but
good. And you have some things coming up, I think. What's going on with your new book?
We have some things coming up. I have I've got a big book signing at Warwick's bookstore in La Jolla, which is like the oldest family-owned bookstore in the country. And we had a wonderful, wonderful gathering there on the first book and packed the house. And we're reconfiguring a little different so we can get more people in there this time, because we had people get there and couldn't get in, so which was an interesting problem to have, but you don't like to see anybody get turned away. So that's June 2nd. It's a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. And it's Warwick's Bookstore in La Jolla. That's 8812 Girard Avenue. And they're an independent bookstore, which is a vanishing thing around the country, unfortunately. And these people have been here a long time, and they're just wonderful folks. So support your independent bookstore. So we're doing a book signing there, and really looking forward to speaking with the folks that come by. We've got music by the Winchester Boys, a couple of guys playing guitar there to get everybody's juices flowing there, and we're doing that. So come on down. We'd love to see you, love to meet you, love to connect with you there. And then I have an engagement at the Rancho Santa Fe Library on June 18th at 11 a.m. and we're gonna it's a travel session that day. So because we talk about traveling here, we've got some other travel people there, and I think they're going to have lunch after that. So I'm always good for that. So and that's June 18th at 11 a.m. So we had an event scheduled in Dallas at the luxury retailer Stanley Korshak, and we've had to reschedule that because they've got a massive construction project going. So we've rescheduled that, and the website and Facebook page will have that updated event information. We did a bourbon tasting and book signing there for the first book called Bourbon and Book, and we had just a wonderful time. And Chef Dean Fearing came over from his restaurant at the Ritz, and he actually wrote the foreword to my new book, which was, you just connect with people, and next thing you know, you got a chef writing a foreword to your book. So that was a real cool thing. So, and we'll probably do another. We did a wine tasting and book signing at Meritage Wine Market in Encinitas, and we'll be doing another event there probably this summer. So that'll be up there on the site as well. So a lot of events to throw at you, but these are things that we enjoy doing. We like to connect and talk with people, and it won't get too literary. There won't be some stuffy guy talking about a book. It'll be just a kind of a knucklehead guy talking about a book and wanting to talk more about the things that you enjoy doing. So.
Very nice. Who doesn't want to get out there on a summer evening and drink some wine and eat some cheese and some great food and some beautiful locations? So we'll have all that information available in our show notes on lifepurposeadvisor.com, so you can refer there. We'll link right out to those events where Ed Cozza will be talking to about his book. Ed, before we close today, I'd love to talk you into offering something free to our listeners. Can I talk you into that?
Well, certainly. They've been tortured enough to have to listen to me today. Get the book, if you will. I hope you read it and enjoy it. And for the first 25 people that read the book and send me an email of a posting of a review on Amazon and or Goodreads, a review of the book, or reviews not always, just a blurb of what you thought, good or bad. You don't have to like it. The first 25 people that do that and send me a confirmation email with the blurb on there, I'll send you a signed copy of my first book, Nowhere Yet.
Right, and make sure you send him your address, where to send the book. I'm sure he'll need that.
Be sure and send me the address, because they'll say, well, I wrote that for that guy, and he never sent me anything. So you need to send me your address. And like I say, that's just an email confirmation at ecwriter@me.com. So yeah, I'm always interested to hear what people say. And like I say, even if you didn't like the book, please put something out there so people can know what to look for. So,
well, I'm sure they're going to love your book. So, anything else you want to say before we wrap up today?
No, I would love to meet you and talk with you. If you have a group that looking for a speaker, I'd be happy to come and speak with you. And I just enjoy making the connection with people. So we've made a nice connection today with you, Angie, and I look forward to the time when we'll go take the dogs out for a walk and talk about all the fun things that we're going to do. So I really appreciate you having me on your show today.
Well, thank you for making time in your very busy writer's schedule. So great story to tell.
Well, thank you. I hope that there's still more stories to tell. And apparently, since I've started the third book, apparently there is. So hopefully people like the second one, and we'll see how the third one goes as well.
Well, I will look forward to reading it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You've been listening to the Life Purpose Advisor podcast. We hope you liked what you heard today. If you're interested in finding your own life purpose, please visit me at lifepurposeadvisor.com, and you can take our free self-study. You can sign up for it there, and you'll receive emails. You can also leave me a message there, and I will contact you directly. This is Angie Swartz, and we'll see you next time.